Have you ever sat quietly, perhaps late at night, wondering why, despite all your efforts, your manifestations don't seem to arrive the way you've envisioned them? Maybe you've written the affirmations, repeated the mantras, crafted vision boards with care, and yet the dream relationship, the financial freedom, the healed self, all still feel like they exist somewhere far away, just out of reach. In those quiet moments, doubt creeps in. You start to wonder, am I doing something wrong? Maybe I just don't have what it takes to create the life I want. That thought alone can feel heavy, as if the universe is silent while you're shouting your desires into the void. But what if I told you that you were never manifesting wrong at all? What if the real reason your desires seem delayed, blocked, or inconsistent isn't in what you're doing, but in how you are observing? Imagine that for a moment. All this time you've been told to fix the rituals, to fine-tune the affirmations, to visualize harder, but the real shift was never in effort, it was in perception. And when perception changes, reality itself begins to bend and rearrange around you. Let's pause here, because this realization is profound. So many seekers believe they're failing at manifestation. They believe they're broken, that others have some secret technique they lack. They see stories online of instant success and compare themselves, thinking, why not me? That comparison creates a weight, a silent burden, and unknowingly keeps them tied to the version of reality they most want to escape. In truth, you are not broken. You were never unworthy. You were simply observing from the perspective of the old self, the self that sees lack, that notices delays, that counts evidence against its own power. Now imagine a different version of you. A you who knows with quiet certainty that everything you desire is already unfolding, already present in subtle but undeniable ways. This version of you doesn't chase signs of progress with desperation. Instead, they walk through life calmly, like someone who already holds the gift in their hands. That version of you observes differently. They look for alignment instead of absence, wholeness instead of missing pieces. And because they observe differently, reality reflects a different story back to them. This is the heart of what we're going to explore together. That manifestation has never been about trying harder, repeating longer, or striving endlessly. It has always been about where your attention rests, what part of the quantum field you're choosing to observe, and what inner state you repeatedly confirm as real. Your observation is like the director's lens in a film. It decides what becomes visible, what plays out on the stage of your life. The script may contain infinite possibilities, but the lens you choose to look through decides which version is brought into focus. So if you've been feeling stuck, if you've felt that sinking frustration of trying and trying with little to show, I want you to take a breath and release that self-blame. The truth is liberating. You have not failed. You were simply taught to look in the wrong direction. And in this very moment, you have the power to shift. You have the power to observe from a place of alignment, to step into the reality that was always waiting for you. Think about it like this. When you order something online, you don't doubt its arrival the moment you click purchase. You don't refresh the page 100 times in panic. You trust the process. You know the package is on its way. And because you know your observation aligns with certainty, you're already living in the assumption that it is yours. The universe works the same way, but here's the catch. If you keep checking reality with anxious eyes, saying, where is it? Why isn't it here yet? You are actually observing from the old self, the self of lack, and so that reality keeps repeating. This is why many people feel like they're running in circles with manifestation. They practice all the techniques but sabotage themselves in the observation stage. They look at their current reality as proof of what's not happening, instead of understanding that current reality is just an old reflection, a delayed mirror of past observation. And so, they unintentionally anchor themselves to the very conditions they wish to outgrow. But here's the beauty. The moment you shift your observation, even slightly, you begin to feel differently. You begin to carry yourself as though the shift has already occurred. And in that subtle energetic alignment, new possibilities begin to reveal themselves. Reality starts to move in mysterious but unmistakable ways. Doors open, synchronicities align, the person you've been waiting for appears. The opportunity unfolds, the healing begins. Not because you forced it, but because you finally chose to observe the reality where it already existed. As we continue, I want you to hold on to one simple truth. You are not manifesting wrong. You've been doing the inner work, setting the intention, planting the seeds. But like a gardener who keeps digging up the soil to check if the seed is sprouting, your observation has been disrupting the process. What you need is not more frantic effort, but a calm, steady shift in how you look at your life. You are both the gardener and the observer, and when you choose to observe with trust, the garden grows, naturally, inevitably. So, if you're ready, let's walk together through this new understanding. Let's step beyond the surface-level teachings of manifestation and dive into the deeper truth, the truth that your reality is not waiting to be created, it is waiting to be observed correctly. And when you make that shift, you'll see that you were never failing. You were simply standing at the doorway of a new reality, needing only to turn your head and look. For many people on the spiritual path, manifestation begins with excitement and curiosity. Maybe you stumbled across a book, a video, or a teacher who said, "You can create your reality," and in that moment something inside you lit up. The idea that you weren't bound by circumstances, that you could shape your future through intention, that was exhilarating. So you began. You wrote affirmations on sticky notes, repeated mantras in the mirror, cut out pictures for vision boards. You visualized yourself driving the car, living in the home, holding the hand of your soulmate. For a while it felt magical, as though the universe was listening. But then days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Maybe little things shifted, a free coffee here, a stranger smiling at you there. But the big desires, the ones your heart truly longed for, still seemed distant. And instead of inspiration, you began to feel frustration. Doubt crept in. The affirmations felt hollow. The vision board became a reminder not of what was possible, but of what wasn't happening. And slowly you began to wonder, am I doing this wrong? Is there something missing in me that others seem to have? This is where so many seekers get stuck. They confuse the technique with the truth. They believe manifestation is a formula, like a recipe. Say this affirmation 5 times, visualize for 10 minutes, and your desire will appear. But reality doesn't work that way. Because manifestation is not about forcing reality into shape, it's about aligning with what already exists in the field of infinite possibilities. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine standing in front of a radio. You know that countless stations are available. Music, news, voices, frequencies all around you. But until you tune the dial, you'll only hear static. Now think of manifestation techniques as turning the dial. The affirmations, the visualizations, they are practices to help you tune. But here's the misunderstanding. Most people keep staring at the static. They say the affirmations while secretly observing their current reality as proof of lack. They visualize the dream relationship, then return to their day focusing on loneliness. They look at the vision board and simultaneously whisper to themselves, "It's not here yet." And so the dial never fully shifts. This is why it can feel like nothing is working. Not because the practices are wrong, but because the observation never changed. You see, your outer reality is always reflecting back your dominant inner state, not the wishful words you repeat when you're in front of the mirror. If the inner state is still lack, still doubt, still waiting, then reality mirrors that waiting. You may be doing everything right externally, but energetically you're observing from the wrong place. Let's contrast this with someone who has understood the deeper truth. They may not even use elaborate rituals. They might whisper a single intention once, then walk through their day as if it's already true. Their observation isn't desperate, it's aligned. They don't keep searching for signs because they are the sign, and reality bends to meet them, not because they forced it but because they were simply observing the version of life where it was already done. This is where we need to pause and recognize something important. Manifestation has been commercialized, packaged into quick techniques and promises of instant results. Say this 3 times before bed. Use this scripting method to manifest in 24 hours. While these can inspire and even bring small shifts, they often create a hidden trap. They condition seekers to focus on the external ritual rather than the internal observation. And when the ritual doesn't deliver fast results, people blame themselves. They feel unworthy, broken, or spiritually weak. But you are not broken. The universe does not play favorites. The truth is simpler. yet more profound. What you repeatedly observe becomes your experience. When you focus on lack, lack multiplies. When you focus on abundance, abundance reveals itself, not because you begged the universe, but because you shifted the lens through which you see. Think about the last time you wanted something deeply, a job, a partner, healing in your body. Chances are most of your thoughts circled around the absence of it. You noticed every rejection, every reminder that it wasn't here yet. That noticing, that observation wasn't neutral, it was creative. You were observing the reality of not having, and so you lived in the vibration of not having. That's the misunderstanding. People think manifestation is about asking louder, when in reality it's about observing differently. Here's another way to see it. Imagine two versions of you standing side by side. The first is your current self, frustrated, waiting, checking reality for signs. The second is your desired self, calm, grateful, already living in the experience of the dream. Now both of these versions exist in the field of infinite possibilities. Both are real. The only question is, which one are you observing? Which version do you keep confirming with your attention, your emotions, your inner dialogue? And this brings us to the real pivot point. The misunderstanding is not in your effort, but in your focus. The universe is not withholding. Life is not ignoring your requests. The desires you hold are already available, already encoded within the infinite field. What determines which version you experience is not how many times you've affirmed it, but how steadily you observe the reality in which it's already true. So if you've ever felt like manifestation is a cruel game, or that you're missing the secret key, let this sink in. The secret has always been in your observation, and here's the empowering truth. Observation is something you can shift right now. You don't need to buy more tools, chant longer, or strive harder. You only need to redirect your attention, to gently but consistently choose the lens of the new self over the old. From this point forward, you don't need to ask, am I manifesting wrong? Instead, you can ask, which reality am I observing? That single question dismantles the old misunderstanding and opens the door to a new way of living, one where manifestation is not struggle but flow, not uncertainty but trust, not longing but knowing. If you have ever wondered why life seems to repeat itself, why certain patterns show up again and again despite your efforts to change, the answer can often be traced back to one thing: your observation. What you consistently notice, confirm, and give your energy to becomes the very fabric of your reality. And yet most of us are never taught this. We are told to dream big, to visualize, to affirm. But very rarely are we told that the act of observation itself is the hidden key that either unlocks or delays what we desire. Think of the simple yet profound discoveries of quantum physics. Scientists have shown that at the smallest level of reality, particles behave differently depending on whether they are being observed. When no one is watching, the particle exists in a state of possibility, waves of infinite potential. But the moment observation is applied, the wave collapses into a definite form. This is not just science. It is a mirror of how your consciousness works. You are always observing, and by doing so you are collapsing possibilities into your personal experience of reality. Now let's translate that into daily life. When you wake up in the morning and immediately think, I'm still stuck in the same situation, that observation collapses reality into sameness. When you look at your bank account and mutter, there's never enough, that observation affirms lack. When you step into the mirror and sigh, I'll never feel confident in this body, that observation feeds limitation. Without realizing it, you are not just witnessing reality, you are choosing it. Your focus is like a laser pointer, and wherever it lands, reality solidifies. The key shift here is recognizing that observation is never passive. Many people believe they are simply reacting to what is. They say, I'm just being realistic. I'm just acknowledging what's in front of me. But in truth, acknowledging is creating. What you call realistic is simply a reflection of past observation. Every so-called fact of your life right now is not permanent. It is an echo of where your focus has lingered. This is why transformation begins not with doing more but with seeing differently. Let's use a powerful metaphor. Imagine walking through a vast gallery filled with paintings. Each painting depicts a different version of your life, one of abundance, one of loneliness, one of joy, one of fear. You carry a flashlight in your hand, and wherever you shine the light, that painting seems to come alive. The figures move, the colors breathe, the story unfolds. That flashlight is your observation. The gallery contains infinite possibilities, but the painting you keep illuminating becomes your lived reality. And here's the miracle. At any moment, you can turn and point the beam toward another canvas. You are never trapped. You are never stuck. You are simply accustomed to shining the light in one direction. This understanding transforms the way we see manifestation. No longer is it about convincing the universe to deliver something new. It is about learning to observe the version of reality in which your desire is already true. This is what sages and mystics have whispered for centuries, that heaven and earth, joy and sorrow, lack and abundance, all exist simultaneously. The choice is not whether they exist, but whether you choose to notice them, to breathe them into your awareness, to let your observation give them life. Think back to a time in your life when something wonderful happened unexpectedly. A friend reached out at the perfect moment. An opportunity appeared out of nowhere, or you felt an inner shift that brought sudden clarity. If you reflect closely, you will realize that you were in a state of openness, a kind of receptive observation. You weren't gripping reality tightly or obsessively scanning for what was missing. You were relaxed, attuned, and without knowing it, you observed from a place of alignment. And because you observed differently, reality had space to reveal something new. This is the great paradox. The harder you try to force manifestation, the more you anchor yourself in the observation of not having. The more you relax into trust and shift your gaze to the already true, the faster reality rearranges itself. Manifestation is not a battle of effort, but a dance of perception. It is not about shouting louder. It is about listening deeper, attuning your observation to the frequency where your desire already exists. Let's make this even more practical. Imagine two people desiring abundance. The first wakes up every morning, checks their bank account with anxiety, and says, "Still not enough. I'll never get ahead." Even when they repeat affirmations like, "I am wealthy," their observation is rooted in lack. Their words may say one thing, but their attention confirms another. Now picture the second person. They too check their account, but instead of dwelling on numbers, they notice every sign of provision. They express gratitude for what is present. They feel the subtle security of being taken care of, and they walk through life as if abundance is their natural state. Both people want the same thing. Both may use the same affirmations, but their observation creates entirely different realities. Observation is also tied deeply to identity. You cannot consistently observe abundance if you still see yourself as someone undeserving of it. You cannot observe love if you keep identifying as the rejected one. This is why shifting observation often requires stepping into a new self-image. You begin to ask, how would the version of me who already has this live think and feel? And then you choose to observe from that place. Identity and observation walk hand in hand. It's important to notice that this isn't about denying what you see. If there is debt in your account, you don't need to pretend the numbers don't exist. If you feel pain in your body, you don't need to suppress it. The practice is not denial, it is redirection. You can acknowledge what is without making it the center of your observation. You can see the current condition as a temporary echo while choosing to give your deepest attention to the reality you prefer. This is what makes observation powerful. It doesn't ignore reality, it transcends it. Now consider the times when you've been caught in cycles. The same relationship patterns, the same financial struggles, the same inner battles. Notice how your mind almost instinctively looks for evidence to confirm those cycles. You say, "See, this always happens to me," or "I knew it would go wrong." That is observation at work, an unconscious agreement with limitation. But the moment you interrupt that loop, even with a small shift, choosing to notice one thing that is working, one moment of peace, one sign of progress, you begin to tilt the observation lens. And that tiny shift, repeated consistently, rewrites the story of your life. This is why observation is the missing key. Without it, Manifestation techniques are like seeds thrown on rocky ground. With it they become seeds planted in fertile soil. Observation is the soil of reality. Whatever you place in it will grow, and you are the gardener, the observer, the one who decides whether to nurture weeds or flowers, lack or abundance, fear or love. As we continue deeper, remember this: you are not at the mercy of external circumstances. You are not stuck in the story of your past. You are an observer, and with every choice of focus, you are painting the canvas of your reality. This truth is not meant to burden you, but to liberate you. Because if observation is the key, then freedom is always in your hands. You can choose differently, see differently, live differently, starting now. Up until now, we've explored why manifestation often feels like a struggle, and we've uncovered the hidden role of observation in shaping reality. But now the question becomes, how do you shift? How do you step out of the endless cycle of noticing lack, repeating the old patterns, and instead begin to consistently observe from the reality where your desire is already true? This is where practice meets transformation, because knowing that observation is powerful is one thing, living it is another. And the good news is, the shift doesn't require force. It requires gentle, steady redirection, like turning your head toward a new horizon and choosing to keep your gaze there until the new view becomes natural. The first step is awareness. You cannot shift what you are unaware of. Begin noticing the quality of your current observations. Ask yourself, what reality am I confirming with my attention right now? If you are observing lack, you will feel it in your body as heaviness, frustration, or anxiety. If you are observing abundance or love, you will feel expansion, lightness, and trust. Your emotions are your compass. They reveal the observation lens you're using. So instead of fighting your emotions, use them as gentle indicators. Each time you feel the sting of lack, it's not proof that you're failing. It's simply a sign that your gaze has drifted. Once you're aware, the second step is reframing. This doesn't mean pretending something is different than it is. It means choosing a perspective that aligns with the reality you wish to live in. For example, instead of observing a bill as proof of financial struggle, you might reframe it as proof that energy is flowing, that services are being exchanged, that you are part of a cycle of giving and receiving. Instead of observing loneliness as evidence of lack, you can reframe it as spaciousness, a time of preparation for a deeper connection. Reframing doesn't deny what is, it shifts the meaning you give to what is, and meaning is what guides your observation. The third step is embodiment. You cannot merely think differently, you must become the version of yourself who naturally observes differently. This means asking, how would the me who already has this live? And then allowing yourself to step into that state. If your desire is love, ask how would a loved person move through this day? Maybe they hold themselves with gentleness, speak with more confidence, or carry an inner warmth. If your desire is abundance, ask how would an abundant person feel while paying this bill? Maybe they feel secure, grateful, generous. Each small embodiment is an act of observation. You are no longer observing from the old self, you are stepping into the new self moment by moment. Now let's anchor this with a short inner exercise. Imagine closing your eyes and taking a slow breath. Picture two doors in front of you. Behind the first door is the life you've known, the cycles, the patterns, the old reality that feels stuck. Behind the second door is the life where your desire is already true. Behind this door, abundance flows, love embraces, opportunities expand. Both doors are real. Both are possible. Which one you experience depends on which door you keep looking at. Now in your mind, see yourself turning away from the first door and stepping through the second. Feel your body shift as you walk into that space. Notice the air, the energy, the sense of relief. In this moment, you are not trying to manifest. You are simply choosing to observe from the new self. The fourth step is consistency. Shifting observation is not a one-time event. It's a practice. Like training a muscle, you strengthen it through repetition. Each time you catch yourself observing lack, you gently return to observing abundance. Each time you notice fear, you redirect toward trust. At first it may feel unnatural, like speaking a new language. but with practice it becomes fluent. Reality begins to mirror the new observation, and soon you don't have to remind yourself, you simply live it. It's also important to address the role of surrender. Many seekers sabotage their shift by constantly checking for evidence. Has it happened yet? Is it working? But this very checking is observing from the old self, the self that doubts. To truly shift, you must allow. Just like a gardener plants a seed and trusts the soil, you must let your new observation take root without digging it up every day. This doesn't mean you never think about it. It means you think about it as though it is already done, not as though it's still missing. Consider the contrast here. The old self wakes up and immediately scans for what's wrong, noticing every reminder that the desire isn't here yet. The new self wakes up and chooses to observe even the smallest signs of alignment. The old self says, nothing's changing. The new self says, change is already in motion. The old self feels anxious and tight. The new self feels spacious and calm. Which self you live from depends entirely on which reality you observe. As you continue this practice, you'll notice something beautiful. Reality responds. You'll start seeing synchronicities, numbers repeating, doors opening, conversations aligning at just the right time. These are not random. They are reflections of your new observation. They are the universe saying, yes, you're looking in the right direction. And when these moments happen, anchor them. Celebrate them. Let them confirm to your subconscious that the new reality is not only possible, it is already here. Finally, let's remember that shifting observation is not about perfection. You don't have to observe correctly every moment of every day. You are human, and old habits of focus may surface. But the power lies in your return. Each time you return to the new observation, you reinforce it. Each time you choose again, you strengthen the lens of alignment. It's like training your eyes to adjust from darkness to light. The more you practice, the more natural the light becomes. So as you move forward, hold this truth gently in your heart. You are not required to force reality into shape. You are only asked to observe differently, to release the old lens of lack, and step into the new lens of alignment, to embody the version of you who already lives the life you desire. And as you sustain that observation with trust and surrender, reality will do what it has always done. It will mirror back the truth of your focus. As we come to the close of this journey together, I want you to take a moment and breathe. Allow everything we've explored to settle into your heart. Think about the path we've walked. The frustration of feeling like manifestation wasn't working. The discovery that the issue was never in the rituals or affirmations, but in the way we observe. We've unwrapped the truth that observation is the hidden key, that what you consistently notice, confirm, and embody becomes the very reality you live. And perhaps most importantly, we've seen that shifting observation is not complicated, not out of reach. It is available to you right now, in this very moment. Let's hold this truth close. You were never manifesting wrong. You were never broken. Life was never withholding anything from you. The entire time, your desires have been here, existing in the infinite field of possibility. The only question was, where were you looking? Were you observing the old self, the one caught in cycles of lack and doubt? Or were you stepping into the new self, the one who already knows, already trusts, already lives the reality they once longed for? This shift in observation is the difference between waiting endlessly and receiving gracefully. You may feel a spark of hope stirring now, and I want you to trust it. That hope is not false. It is recognition that deep down you have always had this power. You've tasted it in fleeting moments. Those times when you felt aligned, when life seemed to flow effortlessly, when synchronicities appeared like whispers from the universe. Those moments were proof that when you observed differently, reality rearranged itself. And now you no longer have to wait for those moments by chance. You can create them deliberately, gently, by choosing where to rest your focus. So, as you leave this video, I want to give you a simple reminder. You don't need to try harder. You don't need to repeat affirmations until your throat is dry. You don't need to question your worthiness or wonder if the universe hears you. All you need is to shift the lens of observation, to notice the subtle ways your desire is already present, already unfolding, to carry yourself as the version of you who has already stepped through the doorway of the new reality. and to return to that observation again and again, until it feels like home. The truth is, you are far more powerful than you've been led to believe. You are not just a participant in reality, you are its observer, its shaper, its living mirror. And when you choose to observe with trust, alignment, and presence, you will discover that life itself is eager to rise and meet you. If this message resonates with you, let it sink deeper by reflecting in the comments. Which reality are you ready to observe from today? And if you feel called, share this with someone who might need the reminder that they are not broken. They are simply one observation away from transformation. Remember, you are not manifesting wrong, you are observing wrong. And the moment you shift your gaze, the moment you choose to see differently, is the moment everything changes.